The Stitched Void. Episode 1. AltZero, the first light in the Stitched Void. The void was silent long before AltZero opened her eyes. Not peaceful, not calm, just empty. A place without shape, without sound, without memory. A place that should never have held a heartbeat, but then it did. AltZero rose from the dark like a star forcing itself into existence. Her long, cosmic purple hair drifted in the weightless air, glowing faintly with the same magenta light that burned in her eyes. Horns curved from her head like void-forged crowns, sharp and elegant. She didn't know how she got here. She didn't know why she existed. She only knew one thing. She was alone. The stitched void around her shimmered with cracks of purple and pink light. Seams she hadn't made yet, but would. The darkness bent under her touch, soft and obedient, like it recognized her even if she didn't recognize herself. AltZero carved her first seam into the void with a single swipe of her clawed glove. The crack glowed. The void shifted. Something changed. It wasn't enough. She carved another, and another, and another. Each seam lit the darkness for a moment, but the light always faded. The void never answered. It never spoke. It never pushed back. AltZero whispered into the emptiness anyways. Is anyone there? The void listened. It always listened, but it never replied. She wandered through the stitched darkness, shaping it, bending it, forcing it to become something more than a hollow universe. But no matter how many seams she carved, no matter how much light she poured into the cracks, the silence always returned. AltZero pressed her hand against a glowing seam, her magenta eyes dimming. I don't want to be alone, the void pulsed, faint, almost shy. AltZero didn't notice. She only felt the ache in her chest, the kind that comes from being the first and only thing in a world that wasn't meant to hold life. So she made a promise to herself, quiet and fierce. If the void wouldn't give her a family, she would make one. Even if she had to tear open the seams of reality to do it. Season 1, The Stitched Void. Episode 2, The First Sister Wakes. AltZero had carved so many seams into the stitched void that she no longer remembered which ones were new and which ones were old. The cracks glowed faintly behind her, soft magenta light reflecting in her eyes as she pressed her palm against the void's surface. She whispered again, barely audible, I don't want to be alone. The void pulsed beneath her hand, gentle, hesitant, like a creature deciding whether to speak. AltZero stepped back. The seam she touched warmed, not with her power, not with her will, with something else. The crack widened slowly, light spilling out in soft waves instead of violent bursts. AltZero braced herself, claws ready, expecting another empty echo, but a shape drifted forward, small, warm, glowing like a lantern in the dark. AltZero froze. The figure unfolded gently, as if the void itself was afraid of startling her. Blonde hair spilled out first, soft and wavy. Catching the glow of the seam, then blue eyes opened. Bright, gentle, impossibly kind for a world made of stitched darkness. AltZero's breath caught. This wasn't chaos. This wasn't a weapon. This wasn't a mistake. This was warm. The girl blinked up at her, sleepy and curious, like she'd just woken from a dream she didn't remember. Sister? She whispered. AltZero's heart twisted. She hadn't taught her that word. She hadn't taught her anything. The void had filled the silence with a story a softer truth than the one AltZero carried. AltZero swallowed the ache in her chest. "Yes," she said quietly, "I'm your sister." The girl smiled, small, gentle, the kind of smile that softened the entire void around them. She reached out, fingers brushing AltZero's hand with a warmth AltZero didn't know she needed until it was there. "What's my name?" the girl asked, voice like a soft page turning. AltZero hesitated. She couldn't call her what she truly was. She couldn't say Experiment 1. She couldn't stain this warmth with the truth. "You'll choose one," AltZero said softly, "when you're ready." The girl nodded, accepting that without question. She leaned into AltZero's side, trusting her completely. AltZero wrapped an arm around her, claws soft against the girl's jacket. For the first time, the stitched void didn't feel empty. The void pulsed behind them, quiet, approving, almost proud. AltZero looked down at the girl with blue eyes and a gentle smile. Her first sister, her first lie, her first reason to keep going. Season 1, The Stitched Void. Episode 3, The Second Sister Sparks. The Stitched Void had been quiet since the first sister arrived. Warm, gentle quiet. Sister 1 followed AltZero everywhere, blue eyes wide with wonder, blonde hair bouncing softly. As she explored the cracks of light AltZero carved into the dark. For the first time, AltZero didn't feel alone, but the void wasn't finished. AltZero felt it before she saw it. A sharp pressure beneath her rib, like the void inhaling too fast. The seam behind her flickered violently, nothing like the soft glow that brought Sister 1 into the world. Sister 1 clutched AltZero's arm, voice trembling. "Sister, something's wrong." AltZero stepped in front of her, magenta eyes narrowing. "No, not wrong. Different." The seam split open with a crack of blue-white lightning. A burst of energy shot out, fast enough to rattle the stitched void. AltZero shielded Sister 1 as the shape inside the seam forced itself into existence, not drifting, not unfolding, but breaking through like it was born mid-sprint. The glow condensed, the static sharpened, a figure landed hard, boots skidding across the void floor in a shower of sparks. She lifted her head, short, vibrant purple hair, blue eyes glowing like charged neon, a grin sharp enough to cut the silence. AltZero braced herself for confusion, for fear, for questions she couldn't answer. Instead, the new girl pointed at her with electric confidence. "There you are. Knew I'd beat everyone else here," AltZero blinked. "Beat?" "Yeah," she said, bouncing to her feet with impossible speed. "I'm your sister, the fast one?" Sister 1 peeked out from behind AltZero, voice soft and hopeful. "You're our sister?" The new girl's grin softened, just a little. "Obviously. Who else would I be?" AltZero felt the lie settle again, heavier this time, sharper, harder to carry. "You're not my sister. I made you because I needed someone who could move faster than fear," AltZero thought to herself, but she only nodded. "Yes," AltZero said quietly, "you're our sister." The girl's energy crackled, lighting up the seams around her. "Good," she said, "because I'm ready for whatever comes next." Sister 1 smiled, relieved. AltZero forced herself to smile back. The void pulsed behind them. Not gentle, not warm, but anticipating. The stitched void family now had a cosmic eldest with magenta eyes and a secret. A soft storyteller with blue eyes and a warm heart, and a volatile spark with blue eyes and lightning in her veins. And the void watched, knowing exactly what it had helped bring into being. The tear seals shut. The void holds its breath. If the void stirred something in you, mark the tell, speak to the void, and return when the next fracture opens. Season 1, The Stitched Void, Episode 4, 3 Lights in the Void. The stitched void had never held this much life. AltZero felt it immediately. The way the seams hummed louder, the way the cracks glowed brighter, the way the darkness seemed to shift in anticipation. The void wasn't used to 3 heartbeats. It wasn't used to any heartbeats. Sister One walked beside her, blonde hair bouncing softly, blue eyes wide as she traced her fingers along a glowing seam. "It feels different today," she murmured, "like it's happy." AltZero didn't correct her. She didn't tell her the void didn't feel happiness. It felt pressure, change, and instability. But Sister One's interpretation was gentler, and AltZero let her keep it. A crack of blue-white light tore across the chamber. Sister Two skidded into view, boots sparking against the void floor as she spun to a stop. "Did you see that seam open?" she shouted, grinning. "I swear it tried to race me." Sister One giggled, soft and warm. "Sister, I don't think seams race." "They do if you're fast enough," Sister Two shot back, flicking a strand of her short purple hair out of her face. AltZero watched them, one gentle, one electric, and felt the weight of the truth settle deeper in her chest. They weren't born, they weren't siblings, they were hers, created from need, loneliness, and fear. But they looked at her with blue eyes full of trust, and she couldn't break that. Sister Two darted ahead, touching the seam that pulsed under her fingertips. "Hey, AltZero," she called. "Why does the void react more when all 3 of us are together?" AltZero hesitated. "Because you're not natural. Because you're part of a pattern I forced into existence. Because the void recognizes what you are even if you don't." She forced a calm smile. "Because we're stronger together." Sister One beamed. Sister Two smirked, like she'd expected that answer. The void pulsed hard. A ripple tore through the chamber, shaking the seams and sending a wave of energy across the floor. Sister One stumbled. Sister Two braced herself, eyes blazing with excitement. AltZero stepped forward, magenta eyes glowing brighter. "Stay behind me." The ripple hit her first. A surge of void energy that recognized her, responded to her, obeyed her. She absorbed it with a single sweep of her clawed hand, the energy dissolving into soft light. Sister One gasped. Sister Two whistled. "Okay, that was cool," Sister Two said. "Do it again." AltZero shook her head. "It wasn't supposed to happen." The void pulsed again, softer this time, almost apologetic. Sister One stepped closer, placing a gentle hand on AltZero's arm. "It's okay," she whispered. "We're here, all 3 of us." AltZero looked at her sisters, one warm, one wild, and felt something she hadn't felt since she first opened her eyes. Not loneliness, not fear, something closer to hope. The void hummed around them, seams glowing brighter than ever. 3 lights in the darkness, 3 heartbeats in a world that wasn't meant to hold any, and the void watched, waiting for what they would become. The tear seals shut. The void holds its breath. If the void stirred something in you, mark the tell, speak to the void, and return when the next fracture opens. Season 1, The Stitched Void, Episode 5, The Void Stirs. The stitched void had always been quiet. Even when AltZero carved seams into it, even when Sister One warmed it with her gentle presence, even when Sister Two tore across it like a lightning strike, the void stayed mostly still, but today it felt awake. AltZero sensed it first, a low hum beneath her feet, like the void was breathing deeper than usual. Her magenta eyes narrowed as she scanned the shifting cracks around them. Sister One noticed next. She paused mid-step, blonde hair falling softly over her shoulders as she pressed a hand to a glowing seam. "It feels nervous." AltZero didn't correct her. Sister One's interpretations were always emotional, always soft, and sometimes they were closer to the truth than AltZero wanted to admit. Sister Two noticed last, but loudest. She skidded to a stop beside them, boots sparking, purple hair whipping around her face. "Okay, what did I miss?" she demanded. "The void's acting weird. I like it." AltZero stepped forward, claws flexing slightly. "It's shifting," she said, "reacting to us." Sister Two grinned. "Good. Maybe it's finally ready for a challenge." Sister One shook her head gently. "No, it feels scared." The void pulsed hard. A ripple tore through the chamber, stronger than the previous one. The seams brightened, the cracks widened, and the darkness between them churned like something was trying to form or escape. AltZero moved instantly, placing herself between her sisters and the shifting void. "Stay close." Sister Two bristled. "I can handle. Stay close," AltZero repeated, voice sharp enough to cut through her defiance. Sister Two fell silent, blue eyes flickering with something between irritation and trust. The void pulsed again, not chaotic, not violent, but intentional. Sister One stepped closer to AltZero, her voice trembling. "Sister, it's calling us." AltZero's breath caught, because she felt it too. A pull, a summons, a direction. The void wasn't reacting to danger. It wasn't reacting to instability. It was reacting to them. 3 heartbeats, 3 energies, 3 beings who were never meant to exist, but did. The seams around them tightened, glowing brighter, forming a path deeper into the stitched void than AltZero had ever dared to go. Sister Two's grin returned, sharp and electric. "Well," she said, cracking her knuckles, "looks like it wants us to follow." Sister One swallowed, blue eyes wide. "Do we?" AltZero stared into the glowing path, into the unknown the void had carved for them. She didn't know what waited there. She didn't know why the void was calling them, but she knew one thing. They had changed the void, and now the void wanted something in return. She took a step forward. "Yes," AltZero said, "we follow." Her sisters moved beside her, one soft, one electric, and the void pulsed in approval. For the first time, the stitched void wasn't just reacting, it was guiding. The tear seals shut. The void holds its breath. If the void stirred something in you, mark the tell, speak to the void, and return when the next fracture opens. Season 1, The Stitched Void. Episode 6, Into the Deeper Void. The path the void carved for them pulsed with a steady rhythm, like a heartbeat buried beneath the stitched darkness. AltZero stepped onto it first, her magenta eyes glowing, brighter as the void recognized her presence. Sister One followed close behind, clutching her satchel of trinkets, blue eyes wide with quiet awe. Sister Two bounced on her heels, energy crackling around her fingers. "Finally," she muttered, "something interesting." AltZero didn't respond. She was listening. The void wasn't humming anymore. It was whispering. Not in words. In pressure, in light, in the way the seams tightened and loosened, like breath. The deeper they walked, the more the void shifted around them, rearranging itself as if guiding them towards something it had kept hidden. Sister One brushed her fingers along a glowing seam. "It feels old," she whispered. "Like we're walking into a memory?" AltZero's chest tightened. She didn't want to think about what the void remembered. She didn't want her sisters anywhere near those memories. Sister 2 darted ahead, boots sparking against the void floor. Hey, there's something up there. AltZero moved instantly, grabbing her wrist before she could sprint into the unknown. Stay close, AltZero said sharply. Sister 2 huffed, but she didn't pull away. Not this time. The path opened into a vast chamber. Larger than anything AltZero had carved, larger than anything she'd ever seen. The seams here glowed brighter, thicker, woven together like the ribs of some ancient creature. Sister 1 stepped forward, voice trembling. Sister, this place feels alive. AltZero swallowed hard, because it was. The chamber pulsed once, twice, and the air shifted. A low vibration rolled through the floor, up their legs and into their bones. Sister 2's eyes lit up. Ooh, I like this. AltZero didn't. She recognized this feeling. She had felt it once before, the moment she first opened her eyes, when the void had shaped itself around her. This chamber wasn't reacting to them, it was waking up. A seam at the far end split open, slow and deliberate. Light poured out, not warm like Sister 1's, not electric like Sister 2's, but something deeper, older, heavy with intention. Sister 1 grabbed AltZero's arm. What is that? Sister 2 stepped forward, fists clenched, ready to fight whatever emerged. AltZero raised a hand, stopping both of them. I don't know, she said, and for the first time, her voice wasn't steady. The void pulsed again, brighter, louder, like a heartbeat finally syncing with theirs. Something was coming. Something the void had been waiting to show them. AltZero took a step forward, claws flexing. Stay behind me. Her sisters obeyed. The seam widened, and the stitched void revealed the first piece of its truth. If that reveal hits you, drop a spark, comment your theories, and come back for the next dive into the deeper void. Okay, bye! The Stitched Void, Season 1, Episode 7. The Chamber Remembers. The seam at the far end of the chamber widened, spilling light across the stitched void floor. AltZero stepped forward first, magenta eyes narrowing as the glow intensified. Her claws flexed instinctively, not out of fear, but recognition. She knew this kind of light. She had seen it once before, the day she opened her eyes. Sister 1 clung to her sleeve, blue eyes shimmering with worry. It feels bad, she whispered, like it's remembering something painful. Sister 2 cracked her knuckles, energy sparking around her fingers. Or something fun, she said, grinning. Let's find out. AltZero didn't move. The light inside the seam shifted, not forming a shape, not forming a person, but forming images, flickers, echoes, memories the void had buried deep. The chamber walls lit up with seams stitched from light, a figure standing alone in the void, tall, sharp, cosmic, seams carved violently, desperately, the void trembling under the weight of creation attempts, shapes forming, then collapsing, light flickering out again and again. Sister 1 gasped, hand flying to her mouth. Sister, who is that? AltZero's chest tightened, because the figure looked like her. Not exactly, but close enough that the resemblance hurt. Sister 2 stepped forward, squinting. Wait, that's not you. The hair's different, and the stance. And the image shifted again. This time the figure reached into a seam, pulling something out. A shape, a being, small, warm, glowing softly. Sister 1's breath hitched. That looks like me. AltZero's heart dropped. The next image showed the figure trying again, this time pulling out something unstable, electric, volatile. Sister 2's grin faded. That's me? The chamber pulsed. Not violently, not angrily, but with the weight of truth pressing against the walls. Sister 1 turned to AltZero, blue eyes trembling. Sister, what is this? AltZero forced her expression to stay calm, composed, unreadable. It's just a memory, she said softly. The void shows things out of order. It doesn't mean anything. But the void pulsed again, harder, as if disagreeing. Sister 2 crossed her arms, eyes narrowing. Why does it look like someone made us? AltZero's breath caught. The chamber went silent. The void held its pulse. Even the seams dimmed, waiting for her answer. Sister 1 stepped closer, voice barely a whisper. Sister, we weren't created, right? We were born together, all three of us. AltZero looked at them, one soft, one electric, both staring at her with blue eyes full of trust, trust she didn't deserve. She swallowed the truth like poison. Yes, AltZero said, we were born together. Sister 1 sagged with relief, leaning into her. Sister 2 exhaled, tension fading from her shoulders. The void pulsed again, low, disappointed, but silent. AltZero turned away from the images as they faded back into darkness. She didn't let her sisters see the fear in her eyes, because the chamber hadn't shown them everything. It had only shown the beginning. And AltZero knew the deeper truth that the void was still hiding. She wasn't the first. She was just the first who survived. The chamber remembers every stitch, even the ones we try to forget. Leave a spark, share your thoughts, and follow the path back when the void opens again. Okay, bye! The Stitched Void, Season 1, Episode 8, The Void Chooses. The chamber dimmed after the memories faded, but the silence that followed wasn't empty. It was heavy, thick with something the void had never shown before. Expectation. AltZero felt it pressing against her skin, crawling up her spine like static. She kept her expression calm, composed, unreadable, but her magenta eyes flickered with unease. Sister 1 stood close, blonde hair trembling as she looked around. It's still watching us, she whispered. I can feel it. Sister 2 scoffed, though her fists were clenched. Good. Let it watch. Maybe it'll show us something useful next time. AltZero didn't answer, because the void was preparing something. She could feel it gathering behind the scenes. pulling itself together like a breath held too long. The floor beneath them pulsed. Once, twice, a third time, harder. Sister 1 grabbed AltZero's arm. Sister, it's scared. Sister 2 stepped forward, blue eyes blazing. No, that's not fear. That's a challenge. AltZero raised a hand, stopping her. Both of you, stay behind me. The void pulsed again, but this time, the seams didn't open into memories. They opened into pathways, 3 of them. Each seam stretched outward like a glowing corridor, each one pulsing with a different rhythm. One soft and warm, like a heartbeat wrapped in light. One sharp and electric, crackling with blue-white sparks. One deep and heavy, resonating with AltZero's own magenta glow. Sister 1 gasped. It made paths for us. Sister 2 tilted her head. Why 3? AltZero already knew. Because the void wasn't showing them the past anymore. It was showing them themselves. 3 beings, 3 energies, 3 origins. Sister 1 stepped toward the warm path, drawn to it like a moth to a lantern. It feels like home, she whispered. Sister 2 moved towards the electric path, sparks dancing around her fingers. This one is mine, she said, grinning. AltZero stared at the 3rd path, the one pulsing with her own color, her own power, her own truth. The void wanted them to walk separately, to see what they were, to see where they came from. Sister 1 turned back, blue eyes trembling. Sister, do we go? AltZero's throat tightened. If they walked these paths, the void would show them everything. The truth she had buried, the truth she had lied about, the truth she wasn't ready for them to see. She forced her voice to stay steady. We stay together. The void pulsed violently. The chamber shook. The seams flared. The 3 paths brightened until the light was blinding. Sister 2 shielded her eyes. What's it doing? Sister 1 clung to AltZero. It doesn't want us together. AltZero stepped forward, claws glowing with magenta light. I don't care what it wants. The void pulsed again, louder, angrier, almost desperate. AltZero raised her hand, ready to force the paths closed. But the void moved first. The ground split beneath them. Light surged upward, and the 3 sisters were pulled apart, not by force, not by violence, by design. Each one dragged into the path meant for her. AltZero reached out, magenta eyes blazing. Sister 1, Sister 2, their voices echoed back. Sister! AltZero! The seams snapped shut. The void had made its choice. Another seam opens. Another truth waits. Season 1 continues. And the next stitch is already pulling you forward. And before the void swallows this moment, don't forget to like, sub, and leave a comment to keep the threads from unraveling. Okay, bye! Season 1, The Stitched Void. Episode 9, The Path of Warmth. Sister 1 hit the ground softly, like the void itself cushioned her fall. Warm light surrounded her, golden, gentle, pulsing like a heartbeat. It felt nothing like the stitched void she knew. It felt safe, too safe. She sat up slowly, blonde hair falling over her shoulder as she looked around. "AltZero?" Her voice echoed, swallowed by the warm glow. No answer. She stood, brushing dust from her jacket, clutching her satchel like it could anchor her. The path stretched ahead, soft light, warm air, seams glowing like lanterns guiding her forward. She took a shaky breath. Okay, it's all right. They'll find me. The void pulsed, a soft, sad thrum, and she felt it in her chest. This path wasn't about being found. It was about being shown. She walked. The seams brightened as she passed, responding to her presence with gentle warmth. She touched one, and it pulsed under her fingertips like a living thing. "It's okay," she whispered. "I'm not scared." The seam opened, not violently, not like Sister Two's, not like AltZero's. It unfolded like a memory being unwrapped. Light spilled out, forming shapes, soft, blurry, like watercolor sketches. A small figure curled in the void, blonde hair, blue eyes closed, a tiny glow of warmth around her. Sister One froze. "That's me!" The image shifted. AltZero appeared beside the small figure, cosmic, composed, magenta-eyed. She reached into the seam, pulling the tiny glowing shape into her arms. Sister One's breath caught. The void showed more. AltZero shaping her. AltZero warming her. AltZero whispering to her. AltZero holding her like something fragile and precious. Sister One pressed a hand to her chest, tears gathering in her eyes. I wasn't born?" The void pulsed, soft, apologetic. The image shifted again. AltZero sitting alone in the void, exhausted, trembling, holding the tiny glowing shape that would become Sister One. AltZero whispering, "I won't be alone anymore." Sister One covered her mouth, tears spilling down her cheek. "I wasn't her sister? I was her answer?" The seam dimmed, the memory fading. Sister One sank to her knees, sobbing quietly into her hands, but the void wasn't done. A new seam opened, warm, gentle, glowing like a sunrise. Inside it, she saw herself, older, smiling, standing beside AltZero and Sister Two, not created, not born, chosen. The void pulsed, warm and steady. Sister One wiped her tears, breathing shakily. "You're telling me I can still be her sister?" The void pulsed again. Yes. She stood, shaky but determined. "Then I'll find them," she whispered. "And I'll decide what I am." The path brightened, guiding her forward. Sister One walked into the light, no longer innocent, but not broken. Not yet. The chamber quiets, but only for a moment. Another seam loosens, another truth waits just out of reach. Season 1 keeps pulling forward, and the next stitch is already calling you. Before the void closes around this echo, like, sub, and leave a comment to keep the thread steady. Okay, bye! The Stitched Void, Season 1, Episode 10. The path of lightning. Sister 2 hit the ground hard, not cushioned, not softened. The void didn't cradle her the way it did Sister 1. It slammed her into a floor of crackling blue-white energy, and she rolled to her feet instantly, sparks dancing across her skin. Okay, she muttered, brushing dust off her jacket. Rude. The air around her hummed, sharp, electric, alive. The seams here weren't warm lanterns. They were jagged, lightning scars, pulsing with unstable energy. She grinned. Now this feels like home. She took a step forward, and the ground responded, sending a bolt of energy racing ahead of her like a challenge. Oh, you want a race, she said, eyes lighting up. Bet. She sprinted. The path lit up beneath her feet, matching her speed, pushing her faster, daring her to keep up. She laughed loud, wild, exhilarated, until the path ended abruptly, forcing her to skid to a stop. A seam opened in front of her. Not gently, not slowly, it tore open like a wound. Inside, she saw flickers, fast, chaotic, hard to track. AltZero carving seams with violent precision. AltZero pacing, restless, desperate. AltZero reaching into the void again and again. Shapes forming, collapsing, sparking out. Failure after failure after failure. Sister 2 frowned. What is this? The void pulsed, sharp, insistent. The images sped up. AltZero reaching into a seam one last time, exhausted, shaking, terrified. A burst of unstable energy, a shape forming too fast, a spark catching fire. Sister 2 watched herself emerge, not drifting, not unfolding, but exploding into existence. She stumbled out of the seam in the memory, wild-eyed, unstable, barely holding together. AltZero caught her before she fell apart. Sister 2's jaw clenched. So I wasn't born, she said quietly. I was an accident? The void pulsed. Violently, the image shifted. AltZero holding the unstable shape, holding her, whispering something Sister 2 had never heard before. I need you. Please stay. Sister 2's breath caught. The void showed more. AltZero stabilizing her. AltZero shaping her energy. AltZero teaching her to control the sparks. AltZero refusing to let her collapse. Sister 2 stared, fists trembling. I wasn't an accident, she whispered. I was needed. The void pulsed. A new seam opened, bright, electric, alive. Inside it, she saw herself standing beside AltZero and Sister 1, sparks dancing harmlessly around her fingers, smiling like she belonged. Sister 2 wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, scowling. Don't get sappy on me, she muttered at the void. I'm still mad. The void pulsed, amused. She cracked her knuckles, energy flaring around her. All right, I get it. I know what I am now. She stepped onto the bright path, electricity swirling around her like a crown, and I'm not broken. The path surged forward, carrying her deeper into the void. The path of lightning ends here, but the current still hums beneath the void. If you felt the spark tonight, leave your mark below, your thoughts, your theories, your pulse. And if you want to follow the storm, subscribe and step deeper into the stitched void until the next surge. Keep your light steady. Okay, bye. The Stitch Void, Season 1, Episode 11, The Path of Magenta. AltZero didn't fall. The void didn't let her. It lowered her slowly, deliberately, like placing a piece back where it belonged. When her boots touched the ground, the air around her thickened, heavy, dense, pulsing with the same magenta glow that lived behind her eyes. This path wasn't warm. It wasn't electric. It wasn't alive. It was hers. AltZero straightened, claws flexing as she scanned the space. The seams here were different, thicker, darker, stitched with threads of deep violet and black. They pulsed in time with her heartbeat. She exhaled slowly. So this is what you want to show me? The void pulsed, low, resonant, almost mournful. AltZero walked forward, each step echoing through the chamber. The seams brightened as she passed, not guiding her, but acknowledging her. She reached the center of the path. A seam opened, not like Sister One's gentle unfolding, not like Sister Two's violent tear. This seam opened like a wound being forced apart. Light spilled out, harsh magenta, blinding. AltZero didn't flinch. The light formed images, sharp, clear, undeniable. AltZero awakening alone in the void. AltZero carving seamed with trembling hands. AltZero failing again and again. AltZero screaming into the emptiness. AltZero begging the void to answer her. AltZero's jaw tightened. I remember this, the void pulsed. No, you don't. The images shifted. AltZero saw herself, younger, unstable, flickering like a glitch. She saw the void trying to shape her. She saw the seams collapsing around her. She saw herself breaking apart. AltZero's breath caught. I wasn't the first, the void pulsed. Yes. The images sharpened, felled versions of her, shapes that looked almost like her, eyes that glowed almost like hers, all collapsing, all dissolving, all erased. AltZero's claws dug into her palms. How many? The void pulsed. Too many. The seam showed more. AltZero, the final attempt, stabilizing. AltZero, the only one who survived. AltZero, the one the void chose to keep. AltZero closed her eyes, swallowing the ache in her chest. She whispered, I'm not the first me? The void pulsed. Not denial, not comfort, just truth. Another seam opened. This one showed Sister One, warm, gentle, glowing softly. Sister Two, sharp, electric, alive. Both smiling at her, both trusting her, both choosing her. AltZero stared at the image, her voice barely audible. They don't know what I am, the void pulsed. They will. AltZero's eyes snapped open, glowing brighter than the seams around her. "No," she said. "Not yet." The void pulsed, louder, insistent. AltZero stepped forward, claws blazing with magenta light. "I said not yet." The void trembled. AltZero reached into the seam, forcing it closed with raw will. The chamber shook, seams flickering violently, but she didn't stop. "You don't get to decide when they learn," she growled. "I do." The seam snapped shut. The void went silent. AltZero stood alone in the darkness, chest heaving, eyes burning. She wasn't innocent. She wasn't stable. She wasn't the first. But she was still standing, and she wasn't broken. A single seam opened behind her, small, dim, leading back toward her sisters. AltZero exhaled shakily. "I'm coming." She stepped into the seam, ready to face the fallout. AltZero just told the void not yet. So while it sulks, you can do something it can't stop. Hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment before the seams close again. Okay, bye! Season 1, The Stitched Void, Episode 12, The Truth Between Us. The seam behind AltZero snapped shut the moment she stepped through, leaving her in a chamber she didn't recognize. The air was thick with magenta light, pulsing like a heartbeat she didn't want to hear. 2 other seams glowed across the room, one warm, one electric. AltZero exhaled shakily. "They're here." The warm seam opened first. Sister One stumbled out, eyes red, cheeks streaked with dry tears. She looked smaller than AltZero remembered, not physically, but emotionally, like the truth had carved something out of her. "Sister?" she whispered. AltZero stepped towards her, but Sister One flinched. Not away, just uncertain. AltZero froze. Before she could speak, the electric seam tore open. Sister Two burst out in a cackle of blue-white sparks, landing hard and immediately scanning the room like she expected a fight. Her eyes locked on to AltZero. "You knew." AltZero's breath caught. Sister Two's voice wasn't angry, it wasn't loud, it wasn't wild, it was quiet, controlled, dangerous. "You knew what we were," she said, "and you lied?" Sister One wrapped her arms around herself, trembling. "Why didn't you tell us?" she whispered. "Why didn't you tell me?" AltZero looked at them, one soft, one sharp, both staring at her with eyes that used to hold nothing but trust. Now they held questions, fear, hurt. AltZero swallowed hard. "Because I didn't want you to see yourselves the way I saw myself." The void pulsed, low, resonant, pushing the truth to the surface. AltZero continued, voice cracking for the first time. "I wasn't the first. I wasn't stable. I wasn't meant to survive. I didn't want you to feel like experiments, like mistakes, like I did." Sister One's eyes filled with tears again. "Sister, we weren't mistakes." AltZero shook her head. "You don't understand. I made you because I was alone, because I was scared, because I didn't know how to exist without someone beside me. Sister 2 stepped forward, sparks flickering around her fists. So what? She said. We're not real? We're not sisters? AltZero's voice broke. You're real because I chose you. You're my sisters because I made you with everything I had left. The void pulsed, bright, insistent. And a seam opened above them, projecting the final memory. AltZero holding both of them, AltZero shaping them, AltZero whispering, "You're mine, you're my family." Sister 1 covered her mouth, sobbing softly. Sister 2's sparks dimmed. AltZero looked at them, tears finally slipping down her cheeks. I lied because I was afraid you'd leave me if you knew the truth. Silence. Then Sister 1 stepped forward, slowly, trembling, and wrapped her arms around AltZero's waist. You're my sister, she whispered, no matter how we started. Sister 2 hesitated. Then she sighed, rolling her eyes, and shoved her way into the hug. Yeah, well, you're stuck with us now. AltZero let out a breath she'd been holding for as long as she could remember. The void pulsed, warm, electric, magenta, all three energies blending together for the first time. The seams around them glowed brighter, 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 and the chamber shifted, not in warning, not in anger, in recognition. 3 beings, 3 origins, 3 truths. 1 family. The void showed them the truth. They chose each other anyways. For the first time, the stitched void recognizes all 3, not as mistakes, not as experiments, but as a family. And families change everything. Okay, bye!